Hey, my dear Narad, Narad is a great devotee. Perhaps you who are accustomed with Vedic literatures, you have heard the name of Narad. So Narad is a great devotee, and the Lord assured him that don't think that I am living in the kingdom of God or I am living in the heart of a great mystic or somewhere else people may think. But I am living in that place where my sincere devotees assemble and discuss about myself. So, here we should always understand that if we sincerely and seriously take up the message of the Bhagavad Gita as it is, without any, adulteration. Sometimes it is adulterated because Bhagavad Gita is a very authoritative book and it is popular all over the world. Sometimes people take advantage of this book and present their own theory in an adulterated way. Not to speak of others.
Turn the lights down. So
I may tell you frankly that even in our country, the greatest, the saintly politician, Mahatma Gandhi, he propounded a philosophy of non-violence. Perhaps you know, every one of you, that he propounded non-violence. And he wanted to prove non-violence from Bhagavad Gita. He has got an annotation of Bhagavad Gita and he has tried to prove that Bhagavad Gita, there is proof, non-violence. But actually, Bhagavad Gita is being spoken in the battlefield where everyone is prepared to start violence simply for a moment when Arjuna was disturbed in his mind that how can I fight with my relatives and friends and sons and grandsons and so many things, bodily relations, and the Bhagavad Gita was spoken. So, that is a practical thing, that Bhagavad Gita was practically spoken to induce Arjuna to adopt violence. Now, Mahatma Gandhi, his philosophy was non-violence. How could he prove that Bhagavad Gita gives evidence of non-violence? No. Therefore, anyone, Mahatma Gandhi or anyone, who has got his own ulterior motive to prove it from the topics of Bhagavad Gita, he must adulterate it. But that is not the process of reading Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita, how to read Bhagavad Gita, that is stated in the Bhagavad Gita. When we come to the 4th chapter, we'll know. So anyway, apart from the process of, but rest assured, we are speaking here of the Bhagavad Gita as it is. We are not going to add in it something for fulfilling our own philosophy, our own points of view. Now here Lord Krishna says that if you want to get rid of this entanglement of, what is that entanglement? Now, Janma Bandha. Janma Bandha. Oh, it is a great entanglement. People do not take it very seriously. Birth. Birth means, as soon as birth only, the one word has been used here, Janma. Janma means birth. The birth means other things. Birth means death. Birth means old age. Birth means disease. Whenever there is birth, the other things are corollary. They will follow. Your birth means a son is born. Oh, you are very glad I have got a son. But if you study it philosophically, no, birth is not, he is not born, death is born. Because the growing of the child means he is dying. It is dying. The dying process. The very day, the very moment the child is born, the dying process begins. So we do not know that it is not birth, it is death. This is called Maya. This is called illusion. That death is born and we are jolly that there is birth of a child. This is called Maya. So everything, from the beginning of our birth, we are illusion. Illusion. And that illusion is so strong that it is very difficult to get out of it. The whole thing is illusion. The birth is illusion, this body is illusion, and the bodily relationship, the country is illusion, the father is illusion, the mother is illusion, the wife is illusion, the children is illusion, everything illusion. Everything illusion. And we are compact in that illusion. We are thinking that we are very much learned and very much advanced, and so many things we are imagining. But as soon as death comes, the actual fact, the beginning of death, then we forget everything. We can forget our country, we forget our relatives, we forget our wife, children, father, mother, everything gone. You see? If it is a fact that I am soul, eternal, then it is a fact also that in my previous life I had my country, I had my children, I had my home, I had my father, I had my everything. But can you remember any of these things, what you were in your previous life? Either human born life or either animal life? You cannot. Death means forgetful. We have forgotten everything. Actually, there is no death for the soul. Just like you are at night, you'll go to sleep. Oh, that is a sort of death. And again, you get up in the morning. So death is something like that. Death is sleeping for 7 months, that's all. Without any consciousness. For 3 months without any consciousness. Or say 7 months. Death means forgetfulness. Just like at sleep, we forget everything. What I am, where I am sleeping, who I am, what is my identification, everything forgot. Then again, as soon as I rise up in the morning, I remember, oh, I am such and such officer, I am such and such father, such and such husband, and I have got to do such and such things. Everything remembered. But during your sleep, you forget everything. Similarly, death means from the time of your leaving this body and entering into the womb of another mother, and so long another body is not developed, you remain unconscious. And as soon as another body is developed within the womb of the mother, and the time is up to come out, then again you remember. So practically, there is no death. Death means changing the body. We have already discussed this point. No, but that janma, that birth, oh, it is stated here that it is a bondage. Janma bandha. Bandha means bondage. Practically there is similarity. It is called bandh, and in English, band. There is a similarity of sound. Janma bandha. So, this janma, so long your mind will be absorbed in the activities of this material world, you are sure to take birth again. So that activities by intelligence have to be purified in such a way that it will not affect you. It will not affect you. That is the tactics. This tactics. So, we should be very serious. We should be serious. That many lives we have passed, but there was no opportunity to get out of this tribulation of birth, death, old age and diseases. Now here is a chance. Here is a chance in the human form of life. So, every intelligent man should take advantage of it, and you can get assistance from these authorized books of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavad, and also expert advice, knowledge. So we should not miss this opportunity. And then the question is, suppose after quitting this body, the present body, I don't get janma, then what is happening to me? That is also stated here. Janmabandha vininmukta padam gachanti anamayam. Anamayam, amayam means contamination. Amayam, contamination. So, this contaminated life, as soon as we give up this contaminated life, then our promotion is in the uncontaminated atmosphere. Anamayam. Anamayam. Anamayam means Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha means where there is no anxiety. I think about this anxiety we explained to you in our last meeting. So we are getting promotion. We are getting promotion to a life where there is no birth, no death, and no disease, no old age. And that means we come to our normal life. Normally we want. Nobody wants disease. Nobody wants death. Nobody wants old age. Nobody wants to suffer the miseries of birth. Oh, there are great miseries when you are in the womb of the mother, all tightly packed up and in a bag, suffocated bag. We do not know how do they live. And if we put again into that position, it will be very difficult. You cannot live for 3 seconds. But by the arrangement of nature or God, we live within the womb of our mother for 10 months in that position. But we have forgotten. But just imagine in how much trouble I was. That is, these things are to be thought. That is intelligent thought. Now, here is a chance that you can get rid of all these miseries. The miseries of birth, the miseries of death, the miseries of old age, miseries of disease. Now we are speaking the synopsis. The Bhagavad Gita, this second chapter is the synopsis, what will be elaborately explained. Not very elaborately, but still more clearly it will be explained in later chapters. Now, Bhagavad Gita is the preliminary study of the Srimad Bhagavad. Just like introductory. into that crystal. Now, how we can practically get into such activities which will not bound me, in the reaction. That is explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam that Sabai Punsa Paro Dharma Jato Bhakti Radho Khaji Ahoitukiya Pratihata Jayatma Suprasidati. Atma Suprasidati. Atma means self. Our present position is that we are not happy. We are always full of anxiety. That is our present position. Now here, just the opposite word is used, that Jaya Atma Suprasidati. If you want actually to make yourself jolly, full of happiness, then you should search out your occupation in such a way that will lead you to the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. Savai Punsa Paro Dharma. Paro means the highest or the transcendent. We are engaged in some sort of activity. Nobody is free from activity. Even an ant, it is also engaged in activity. And the elephant, ant is the most, according to our vision, the ant is very small and the elephant is very big. But everyone, beginning from the ant up to the elephant, so far our experience is concerned, there are other big animals also. We have not seen, but we can see from the description of the scripture that there are fishes in the ocean which is called Timingal. The Timingal, and perhaps you know that fish which is called in Sanskrit Timi Matsya or whale fish, very big. It is sometimes 100 feet long. So there are other fishes, which is a Timingal. That fish swallows up this fish, this 100 feet long. Now just imagine what must be the length of that fish's body. So in God's creation there are so many wonderful things. We have not seen all, but everyone is engaged in some sort of occupation for livelihood. Nobody is silent. Nobody is silent. According to his nature, modes of nature and position, everyone is busy. Now, the Bhagavad says that Savai Punsa Paro Dharma, everyone is busy. But when one is busy in such a work that leads to devotional service of the Lord, that busyness, that occupation is the supermost. That occupation is the supermost. Savai Punsa Paro Dharma. Paro means supermost. And that sort of occupation should be without any cause. Everything is done. Everything is done. So far our duties are concerned. There is a cause. I do this because I want this. So there is a cause and effect. But this sort of business, this sort of occupation, which leads you to the devotional service of the Lord, it has no cause. It has no cause. Why it has no cause? Just like a lover, or say lover, beloved, set aside, just like mother. A mother loves her child. There is no cause. She does not know why I am loving. Automatically she loves. Similarly, we have got our relationship with the Supreme Consciousness. We are consciousness. That is accepted. Now, there is supreme consciousness also. Just let us have some estimation. What is the supreme consciousness? Now, supreme consciousness is described in the Bhagavad Gita, Jena sarvamidam tatam. The consciousness is distributed throughout your whole body. That we can make an experiment. But this consciousness is not able to spread over all the cosmic manifestations. That is also a fact. My consciousness is spread over my body. Your consciousness is spread over your body. I do not know what you are thinking now, and you do not know what I am thinking. Therefore, my consciousness is individual, your consciousness is individual. But there is the super soul who knows what you are thinking and what I am thinking, what he is thinking, everyone thinks. That is super consciousness. So, super consciousness and individual consciousness. So, our relationship, the super consciousness and the individual consciousness is eternal. Eternal. They cannot be, separated. Therefore, my position is just like there is superior one and the inferior one. Inferior one is subordinate to the superior one, and inferior one is to act according to the superior one. Just like it is taught here that Krishna is the super consciousness. He is trying to convince Arjuna that you act according to my direction. Because you are individual consciousness, subordinate to me, and I am super consciousness. And in the last phase of Bhagavad Gita, you will see that he summarized, Lord Krishna summarized, the Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Saranam. You just surrender unto me. This is the sum and substance of everything. So, therefore, the conclusion is that the individual consciousness should surrender to the supreme consciousness and act accordingly. That is the position of standing on the conscious plane. That is the position of conscious plane. And Srimad Bhagavata also says, the Sabai Purusha Paro Dharma, the activities, the occupation, the business, that which leads us to that consciousness. That consciousness, that I am subordinate to the supreme consciousness, and let me act according to the supreme consciousness. Without any cause, without why I shall act. There is no such question. It is automatic. Automatic. Just like a little son and the mother. The little son is automatically subordinate to the mother. Whatever the mother says, the child acts. The mother is completely dependent. Similarly, as soon as we make our consciousness completely engaged in the service of the supreme consciousness, that is our liberated position. That is our liberated position. And in that liberated position, whatever we do, there is no reaction. That is transcendental position. So what Sri Krishna says here, that karmajam, that any work which you are performing, that is creating some reaction for future enjoyment or suffering. But if you act intelligently, in collaboration with the supreme consciousness, then you will be free from this bondage of birth, death, old age and diseases. And in your next life, this is a training period. This life will be a training period. And as soon as you are fully trained up, then the next result will be that after giving up this body, you come to my kingdom. Tatta deham punarjanma naiti mameti kaunteya. So this is the whole process. So that sort of business which will lead us to the position when we shall be dovetailed with the Supreme Consciousness. Just like this morning I was giving an example. Just like one motor car is passing on in 60 miles speed and a cyclist also going on. If the cyclist catches the motor car, he can also proceed with the same speed, 60 miles speed, without even paddling. Similarly, if we can join our consciousness with the Supreme Consciousness, then our whole life becomes successful. That is the point. Now, how to join it? The religion. This whole worldly religious process is the same, experimental or formulas or rituals, so that one may become dovetailed with the Supreme Consciousness. Every religion. But if we become attracted by the ritual only or formulas and quarrel on that point, that, oh, my Bible says like this, and I say, no, my Vedas says like this. The Muslim says that, no, my Quran says like this, yours is not right. Then we become, when attached to the rituals only, we forget the right point. The right point is, the whole process is, how to dovetail myself with the Supreme Consciousness. Going to the church, it is not a formality, but the real thing is to elevate myself gradually, to dovetail myself to the Supreme Consciousness of God. That is the real formula. So, Krishna says that karmajang buddhijukta, when we are engaged in such a way, then we get rid of this janmabandha binimukha. And next sloka is jadate mohakalila dantashi nidvedam sotabbasya sutasya. When you are elevated to that platform, dovetailing yourself with the Supreme Consciousness, then there is no more requisition for understanding the scriptures or the rituals or the religious process. You are transcendental to that, all these paraphernalia. Jadade mohakalilang buddhidvati tarishyati. When your consciousness is adopted in cooperation with the Supreme Consciousness, then you are transcendental to the position of this illusory stage. Jadate mohakalinam buddhidvati tarishyati tada gantashi nidvedam. At that time, you become callous to all these rituals, because your position and your activities are fixed. Sotabbasya sutasya. Whatever you have heard and whatever you have to hear in the future, all finishes. Therefore the whole thing depends how to adjust ourselves to that Supreme Consciousness. And if we cannot, the next verse in the Srimad Bhagavad says, the dharmasanisthita pungsha vishakshena kathasuja notpadaya jadi samayeva hi kevalam. Samayeva hi kevalam. If by performing all religious rituals very nicely and very perfectly, if we fail to dovetail ourselves with the Supreme Consciousness, then all our labor for performing these rituals and religious performances, they become only labor of love. It has not produced anything substance. Anything substance. Nano niskamani karmani kurbuta me. This is the question of Arjuna, that when I shall be self-realized by doing work without any fruitive result, so what will be the position of my self-realization? That in answer to that question, that when you shall be callous to all religious rituals and scriptural injunction, and simply you shall be engaged in the job-telling business with the super consciousness, then you are in transcendental position of all religious rituals and all conception of religious ceremonies and everything. But in the beginning, you require all these things. Therefore, Bhagavad says that that sort of religion which elevates you to that consciousness, that is the supreme type of religion. Sutibi pratipannate jadasthasati nischala samadhu achala buddhi tada yogam avasasi. This is the position of yoga. Yoga, samadhi means to be always situated in the super consciousness, situated in the business of job-telling with the super consciousness. That is called samadhi. Bhagavad Gita. Sutivi vidipannati jadasthasam nischala. You are not defeated. Even by hearing so many other things, if you are not defeated, then that position is called samadhi, and that position is the high position of your life. Now, Krishna is being questioned by Arjuna that what are the symptoms of such person who is already in that position of job-telling the individual consciousness with the super consciousness. What are the symptoms? Arjuna Vasa, Sita Pragasya ka bhasha, Samadhi Thasya Kesava, Sitadhi Kim Prabhasita Kimasita Bhajita Kim. Now, Arjuna says, my dear Krishna, will you kindly explain what are the language, how a person who is already in transcendental position, how does he speak, how does he act, and how does he live, how does he move, all these things. Because in our present life we have to act. Activities not stop. Simply the activities are to be adopted in a certain way that we can join ourselves with the super consciousness. Now, when such thing is performed, when actually one is adopted with the super consciousness, what are the symptoms of his life? This is being questioned by Arjuna. And Lord Krishna, Sri Bhagavan Vacha. You will find always in Bhagavad Gita that although Krishna is speaking and the word Bhagavan is used, because Krishna that very word means the supreme personality of Godhead. Just like we have recited this law, Ishara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadi Adi Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. So Krishna and Bhagavan is identical. So here you will see in the Bhagavad Gita, instead of mentioning that Krishna said, when Arjuna is speaking, it is clearly said that Arjuna said, but when Krishna is speaking, it is said, see Bhagavan Pada, the personality of God is speaking. Now, Sri Krishna answering the symptoms of the self-realized personality. So, what is that first symptom is prajahati jada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmani eva atmana tushta sthita prajnastaduchyati. The first principle of the first symptom of a self-realized soul is that he does not make any plan for his prosperity. Yeah, because we are always busy in making plans. Now, after this we shall do this. After this we shall do this. But one who is self-realized, he has no plan, because he has dovetailed himself with the Supreme Consciousness, so for himself he has nothing to do. He simply depends. He simply depends on the Supreme Consciousness. It is very elevated stage, you see, that completely he surrenders himself, and but we should not be, imitating this. This is, of course, spoken for the highest stage. But we should, without coming to that highest stage, we should not imitate. When Krishna is asked, he must give the proper answer. So he is giving the answer that prajahati jata kaman sarvan partha manogata. Because our mind is the factory of creating so many plans. So many plans. But one who has dovetailed himself, he has nothing to do for plan making, because everything is taken up by the Supreme Consciousness. He has simply to follow. Therefore he has, for himself, he has no plan. He has no plan. This is the first step. But without reaching that stage, and we should not pose ourselves that I have nothing to think, I have nothing to think of future, past, or everything. No, gradually we shall come to the stage when there will be everything done automatically. But in the present moment, we should give up plan making. But we shall have to take up the plan of the Supreme Consciousness. Personally, we shall not make any plan, but we have to receive the plan from the Supreme Consciousness. That will be our position. Just like an apprentice, he is working in the apprenticeship, he should not present his own plan, but he has to take plans of work from his superior. Then he will learn. And when he is accustomed, when he is elevated, then he will be able to make independent plans, not independent always, but even if he is higher officer, everyone has to consult the higher authorities. Similarly, this means that I shall not independently make any plan, but I must accept the standard plan and which is coming directly from the Supreme Consciousness through a channel. We have to seek that channel. So that channel is called, you will find it in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 4th chapter, parampara, disciplic succession. Disciplic succession. The words, the plans and the instruction which is coming directly from Krishna, that thing we have to accept. We shall not make any our own plan. That is the way of making progress. Now, this disciplic succession, as we have accepted, this disciplic succession comes from Krishna. Just like Krishna is instructing Arjuna. Krishna is instructing Arjuna. And we have to understand how Arjuna has understood Krishna. And if we follow the understanding of Arjuna, then we are following the parampara system or the disciple succession. That is the problem. Now in the 10th chapter, you will find that how Krishna is understood by Arjuna. After hearing not all, at least 75% of the instruction of Bhagavad Gita, the estimation of Arjuna is stated in the 10th chapter. He says that, yes. Arjuna, after understanding Krishna, after his instruction, he says that automatically he says, Parang Brahma Parang Dhama Pavitrang Paramam Bhavan Purusam Sasatam Divyam Adi Devam Ajang Vibhum. Krishna, now I understand it, that you are Param Brahma. Param Brahma means the supreme spiritual identity. Every one of us is Brahma. You are Brahma, I am Brahma. Every living entity is Brahma. Because he is not this matter, he is spirit, soul. Whoever is spirit, soul, he is called Brahma. But Krishna is addressed here, Param Brahma. Just like we recited that slok, the verse, Ishara Parama Krishna. Ishara, every one of us, Ishara. The translation of Ishara word is God. The God means, Ishara means controller. So every one of us is controller. But Krishna is the supreme controller. He has no controller. I am controller. I am Brahma. But at the same time, I have got superior controller over me. But Krishna is called Param Brahma or the Ishara Parama, the supreme controller, because he has no controller over it. And that is the acceptance of Arjuna. This is the mode of studying Bhagavad Gita. If we don't interpret in our own way, if we really want to study Bhagavad Gita, then here is the confirmation by Arjuna how he understands Krishna after hearing Bhagavad Gita. Not only that, he also, in the 11th chapter, you will find that Arjuna will request Krishna to show him his gigantic universal form. Because Arjuna as he accepted Krishna that he is God undoubtedly. But in future, people may think that Krishna and Arjuna were two friends. So, out of friendly appreciation, Arjuna might have accepted Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead. But what is the evidence to us? Now here, when Arjuna requested that Krishna, you kindly show me the gigantic form, the gigantic universal form, he showed it. That is also described. So the idea is that imitation God, there may be so many. Nowadays it has become a fashion, and not in your country, at least in India, it has become a fashion that everyone is coming out and he declares himself, I am God. I am God. As if the God has become a very cheap thing and it can be had in the market wherever you go. That is not the thing. God is not so cheap thing. God is not so cheap thing. The description of God is in the Brahma Samhita is given Jasaika nishasita kalamathavalamba Jivanti loma vilaja jagadannanatha Vishnu mahan sayyajas sakala visiso Govindamadi padusam tamahang bhajami. The God, this material creation, we have got this information from authoritative scripture. This material creation, how it is being done? It is being done that the Supreme Lord, in his form of Mahavishnu, is lying on the causal ocean and in his sleeping mood, and with the breathing of his nostril, so many universes are being born as seed. And when he is taking the breathing, inhaling, the whole thing is going into him. So such is the position of God, that by his breathing, all the universes are coming, and by his breathing, so the existence of this universe means within his breathing period, within the breathing period of the Mahavishnu. So that Mahavishnu is described, Jasaika nishasita kalamathavalamba Jivanti loma vilaja jagadannanatha Vishnu mahan sayyajasya kalavisasa. That Mahavishnu is also plenary portion of Krishna, Govinda. That Mahavishnu is also not the original. The original personality of God is Krishna. So, this is a great science. What Krishna is, Krishna science. It is simply a synopsis. Bhagavad Gita is only a synopsis of the science of God. And it is not explicitly given in the Srimad Bhagavat, but after all, it is a great science. And if we study it very seriously, then we can understand. We should not take so cheaply that here is a God, here is a God, here is a God. No, God is not so cheap. God is one, and He is great. God is great, as in English language it is said. And nobody can be greater than Him or equal to Him. That is the position of God. Now here, Arjuna, he accepts Krishna, and he says that you are Parabrahma. Parabrahma, Paramdhama. Dhama means in which everything rests. We are resting. Everything is resting, just like this is scientific and practical, you know, that the innumerable planets that you can see at night as luminary stars in the sky, each and every one of them, more or less, they are all different kinds of planets. But do you know how they are floating in the space? They are floating on the sun sign, on the sun rays. They are floating, that you can see. Similarly, the sun sign is the imitation of the Brahma Jyoti that is coming out of the body of the Supreme Lord. So everything is resting on the sign of the Supreme Lord. That's what he is called Paramdhama. Paramdhama means everything resting on you. Parambhamma, Paramdhama, Pavitram. Pavitra means uncontaminated. Because we, although we are Brahma, now we are contaminated by this material body. But the Lord has no contaminated body of this material existence. We have already noted. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha. Sachidananda Vigraha means his body is full of bliss, full of knowledge, and it is eternal. That is completely distinct from this body. So when there is description of the Lord that he is formless means he is not of this form. He has got a Sachidananda Vigraha, a different element. Therefore he is called Pavitra and Paramam Bhama. You are the supreme original. Purusam Shasatam Divyam Adi Devam Ajang Vibhum. So you are Purus. Purus means enjoyer. In the Vedic literature about yourself. Ahustam Vishayo Sarva. All the greatest sages accept you, the Supreme Lord. Bhaustam Rishabha Sarve Devarsi Narada. Devarsi Narada. I have already spoken to you about Narada. He has also accepted. That means authority. He is quoting authority. Not that. I am personally accepting you as such. But there are many authorities. Many authorities. So, we have to understand about the science of God from the extraordinary activities and confirmed by the authorities, accepted by the revealed scriptures, then we have to accept. You see? Not blind. So Arjuna is giving such evidences. You see? Asito devalabhyasa sayanchaiva brabhisi me. You are accepted by such authorities like that, and I have the opportunity that I hear all these from you directly. I am fortunate enough that I am become your related in friendship with you, and I am hearing. So here is the evidence. Now, if you want to study Bhagavad Gita, then you have to accept all these statements of Arjuna. Because Bhagavad Gita was explained directly to Arjuna. And if you don't accept the appreciation of the direct person who heard Bhagavad Gita, then whom do you believe? Suppose I have heard something directly from one person, so what I am saying, another person who has no direct relation, he is also saying, whom would you believe? You have to believe the person who has directly heard. So here, there is no doubt about it. That Arjuna directly heard Krishna, and his appreciations are recorded here. So therefore, if we want to study Bhagavad Gita, then we have to accept the appreciation of the direct hearer, Arjuna. If we do that, then we can get the right thing. But if we change it for our ulterior motive, as so many annotators are doing in the case of Bhagavad Gita, then we cannot be able to understand what is Bhagavad Gita. All right.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So again, this is an exceptionally brilliant lecture by Prabhupada. And he begins with Karmachan Buddhiyukta hi Tyakva Phalam Tyakva Manisenaha Janmabandha Vinirmuktam Phalam Tachanti Namayam. So this verse says that by thus engaging in devotional service to the Lord, great sages or devotees free themselves from the results of work, meaning from all karma in the material world. In this way, they become free from the cycle of birth and death and attain the state beyond all miseries by going back to Godhead. So in this particular section of the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, we've studied already verse 48, 49, 50, and now we're studying 51 to 55. It's all about becoming free from the cycle of karma, learning what's called the art of work, Yoga Koshalam, Yoga Karmasu Koshalam, work by which you don't create any more karma, good or bad, but you create your natural destiny of advancing to eternal life in the spiritual world. So in order to do that, one must become free of the conditioned state. What is the conditioned state? Well, the free state is Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma Nasochatina Kanksati Samak Sarvesu Bhutesu Madbhaktim Labhate Param. Point one of the liberated state, or the free state, is one is Prasanatma. One is completely satisfied by virtue of self-realization and acquired knowledge. And then number two, Nasochatina Kanksati, one is no longer hankering or desiring anything material for sense gratification, nor is one lamenting anymore having lost something for sense gratification. And then point 3, samak sarve sabute. So one is equal to all living entities, not only human beings, but the fish, the reptiles, the insects, the birds, the mammals, etc. So, therefore, one attains a state of neutrality. Neutrality means that because one knows that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is also the seed-giving Father of all living entities. He's present in the heart of every living entity as Paramatma. He's also present in every atom of the universe as Paramatma. And from Paramatma comes knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. Therefore, if a devotee learns the simple principle of giving up material desires and replacing them, material desires are for self-indulgence, but replacing those material desires for self-indulgence with desires to please Krishna, then one becomes free from the karma bonds, the entanglement of good or bad actions in this world. Why is one entangled by good actions as well as bad actions? Because they both require that one takes birth again to receive the reward or the punishment. So therefore, by engaging only in devotional service without any personal motive other than to please the Lord, one becomes free of good and bad reactions. Yogastha kurukarmani sangam tyakva dhananjaya siddhi siddhayo samobhutvam samatvam yoga uchyate. So this is called yoga, or connecting to Krishna through devotional service, where one is no longer attached to success or failure. One simply does their duty, which is to serve Krishna with love and devotion, and leaves everything up to Krishna. The result is in Krishna's hands, but one is duty-bound to continue acting in spite of all obstacles and material conditions. It can be, one can be successful, one can be a failure materially, but it doesn't stop the devotee from performing devotional service. So this transcendental state, even in this body, is described here. And now, as it goes further, it says that in this transcendental state, how do you understand if someone is transcendentally situated? So Krishna explains this question, important question by Arjuna. Arjuna says that stita pragya shikaba se samadista shikeshava stita di kim prabhaseta kim asita rajeta kim. So he says, my dear Krishna, please explain to me what are the qualities of a person who is transcendentally situated in this world, even with the material body. What are his symptoms? How does he talk? How does he walk? How does he sit? In other words, please explain the qualities of such a person. In other words, if something walks like a duck, talks like a duck, and looks like a duck, what is it? A duck. Right? So now he's saying, okay, now you explain to me how I can recognize a transcendentally situated person. What qualities does that person manifest? So Krishna begins by saying, Prajahati yadakamam sarvam parta manogatan atmani avatmana tusta stita pragyas tadochyate. He says, Prajahati yadakamam. First symptom is that he has no plans, this person, male or female, has no plans for material acquisition or prosperity. Because such a person is self-realized, they're not making plans, to buy a Tesla, to buy a $1 or $2 million house, to have a diamond ring or gold ring, gold chain, Gucci suit and tie and so forth. They're not interested in all these trappings of richness. Just like one time there was a man in a steam room and he just had a towel on, and another man came in and he just had a towel on and he sat down. So they sat together, but they didn't talk to each other. And later on, the second man who walked in, he gets up and walks out, and then the first man walks out, and they both take a shower, and then they both go to check out. And at the checkout, after they put their when they're starting to put their clothes on, the first man notices the second man is putting on a very expensive suit and a tie and a very expensive tie pin and the most expensive Rolex watch. Not yet, but the expensive cufflinks and really expensive shoes. So he's a little bit surprised, right? Because he has just ordinary clothes on. Then they go to the checkout counter where they get their valuables, and he notices the man has the most expensive Rolex watch and a big, stack of $100 bills and so forth. And then that man goes out and he follows him and he sees that there's a limousine outside waiting for him. And he said, darn it, why didn't I talk to that guy? He's like a billionaire. I could have asked him for a job or asked him, I could have become friends with him, So he couldn't recognize the man sitting in the steam room, with just a towel on. But when he went outside, he saw he has the most expensive clothes, watch, gold chain, ring, and then there's a limousine waiting for him with a chauffeur, So in the same way, we need to know what are the identifying qualities of a person who is actually transcendental to the modes of material nature. So, first and foremost is such a person has given up all desires for self-indulgent sense gratification. They're only interested in pleasing the senses of Krishna and sharing the bounty of that activity with others freely and unselfishly. Just like every day we offer so many different offerings to Krishna, and then we share it with the public for free. And if you make the mistake and knock on our neighbor's door to see if you can come in and have darshan, he would say, I don't know who you are, get out of here right away or I'll call the police. But yet, anybody can walk into our door here because this is not our temple. This is Krishna's temple. Right? And Krishna is the seed-giving father of all living entities. So he's very happy to see people walk into the temple and bow down and listen to a class and have darshan of the deities. Very happy because we are his children. And why do people have children? They want to increase their happiness. So why does Krishna have children? Because he wants to increase his happiness. And when he sees that his children are disobedient, he feels very sad, much sadder than we feel. Right? And he wants nothing more than for us to reciprocate with him in loving devotion, so he can reciprocate with us. So that is called Savai Pumsa Paro Dharmo Yato Bhakti Rahuksaje Haitaki Pratihata Yayatma Supersidity. That the superior quality of Dharma, Savai Pumsa Paro Dharmo, Paro Dharma means the superior Dharma, Yato Bhakti Rahuksaje, that is, engaging in the service of the Lord and without any material motives. The only motive is to please the Lord. Ahaituki, that means, without any particular motive. And ahoksaje means the Lord who is transcendental. Transcendental to birth, death, old age, and disease, lust, anger, greed, madness, illusion, and envy. And transcendental to sattva, rajas, and tamas, the three qualities that bind people to this material world, and transcendental to time, transcendental to all forms of ignorance. He's uttama, above all tama, or ignorance. So, therefore, secondly, the symptom of a transcendental person is they have no plans for their personal material benefit. Their plans, they adopt the plan of the Lord. And what is the plan of the Lord? He explains here in the 18th chapter, Nachatazman Manusyesu. He says that he says, Ya idam paramam guyam mad bhakti swabhidasati bhakti mai param kritva mam ivasasya samsaya tasma nachatazman manusyesu kaschid me priya kritama bhavita nachame tasmad anya priyataro bhuvi. He says, for one who explains this Bhagavad Gita that he spoke 5,000 years ago to Arjuna, he calls it the supreme secret, or param guyam, to devotees. Pure devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end, he will come back to me. And then he says, there is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. So, he's explaining to us how we can become intimately related to Krishna, and that is learn his Bhagavad Gita. And it's only 700 verses. It's actually a short book. The Mahabharata has 120,000 verses. This is only 700 verses. But these 700 verses are so powerful that Janma Karma Chame Divyam Evam Yo Veti Tatpata Jakvadeham Punar Janma Naitimam Eti Sarjana, 4th chapter, 9th verse. He says, anyone who knows the transcendental nature of my activities and appearance, my janma and karma, after death, does not come back again to this material world, but comes straight back to me in Vaikuntha or Goloka Vrindavan. So here we see that this knowledge is so empowering that it can liberate us from the cycle of birth and death. Now, what knowledge? Knowledge of Krishna. Just like somebody has knowledge of mathematics, somebody has knowledge of nuclear physics, somebody has knowledge of JavaScript, somebody has knowledge of how to make a marijuana joint, right? Everybody has some knowledge, right? But none of those different types of knowledge will not liberate you from the cycle of birth and death, nor will it take you from the material world to the spiritual world. But knowledge of Krishna will. It frees you from your previous karma. It liberates you from the entanglement of the 3 modes of material nature and the karma bund. It gives you happiness and knowledge and introduces you to transcendental life, even in this world, in this body. And it helps you control anger, lust, greed, and so forth. And it gives you peace, unadulterated peace, and so forth. It gives you all these benefits, and it liberates you from the cycle of birth and death, and you go back to Godhead for eternal life of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. No one else can give you that. You can't get that from reading any other book, and no one else can promise you those things, but Krishna promises in Bhagavad Gita. Okay. So, second symptom is that the devotee is completely dependent on the mercy of Krishna. He has no fears because he knows Krishna is the supreme controller, Ishwara Parama Krishna, Satchitananda Vigraha. He's the Param Ishwara, Param Brahma, Param Dhamma. He's the supreme Lord. And he's the supreme protector. Jai Shri Radha Nilamadhava Ki Jai. Jai. Therefore, he is completely surrendered to the Lord. And he's not making any plans for his own personal sense gratification. And ultimately, he does how do we make these plans for sense gratification? They're made from our mental concoction. What does that mean? Oh, if I buy this Bitcoin, then I'll become rich. Yeah, sure. The person that becomes rich is the one that discovered or made the Bitcoin, not you, you idiot. You think you're going to get rich. Yeah. Oh, if I get this book about how to flip houses using other people's money. Yeah. You think you can do that? That's a bunch of nonsense. Nobody makes money. Oh, I'll get rich by joining Amway and building up my downline. No one ever made money doing that. It's all a bunch of nonsense. All these so-called plans to get rich quick with other people's money. Right? So, then, such a person with these qualities, with the mind purified, then he finds satisfaction in the self alone. He doesn't need satisfaction in the Tesla, satisfaction in the BMW, satisfaction in the Bahamas, satisfaction in Hawaii, satisfaction here, satisfaction there. He finds satisfaction in himself because he's discovered the presence of Paramatma in his heart. God's presence. God is closer to us than anyone else. And he's our best friend. And he should be the beneficiary of all our yagyas or sacrifices. And he is a supreme proprietor. He owns this body. We don't own the body. He owns the body. He makes the body function in a perfect way. And if we follow his rules and regulations of diet, of lifestyle and everything, then we'll always be healthy and peaceful. Our mind will be peaceful. Nasti buddhira yuktasya nacha yuktasya bhavana nacha bhavyatak santira santasya kutasukam. In the second chapter, Krishna explains that if you don't have a relationship with him, you cannot have a controlled mind or transcendental knowledge, without which you have no peace of mind, without which you cannot experience happiness. So, all connected. If you have a connection with a robot, right, a Japanese robot, it's not going to give you transcendental knowledge. It's not going to give you clear thinking. And you're not going to have peace, right? And you're not going to really be happy. You'll have a little bit of happiness in the beginning, but after a little while, you get bored. You know, after all, it's only a machine. It's not, you know, it's not a person. So, you see, you cannot artificially be happy through material manipulation and exploitation. But you can be happy by discovering God in your heart. Imagine that, discovering God in your heart. Closer to us than anyone else. And then he says, Dukesa nidvigna manak sukesu vigita spriha vitaraga bhaya kroda stita dir muni uchyate. So now, another set of qualifications of a transcendental person. Such a person is not disturbed in the mind amidst the threefold miseries of life. Miseries caused by this body, miseries caused by other persons, miseries caused by cataclysmic events. The person is not disturbed. They maintain the equanimity of their mind in all situations, in success, failure, heat, cold, happiness, distress, war, peace, riches, poverty. They're not disturbed by any of these dualities. Why? Because they have complete faith that Krishna will protect them. Therefore, they simply continue to execute their duty in Krishna consciousness, waking up early, bathing regularly, at least 2 times a day or 3 times a day, assisting in the Mangala Arati, chanting a certain number of rounds of the Hare Krishna mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Ram Rama, assisting in these classes, morning and evening, working honestly and without any type of deception, etc., and so forth, and being kind to all living entities, and treating family members and relatives and all people with respect, and so forth. These are all duties Why should we treat all people with respect, even enemies? Because we see the presence of God in their heart. Just like we've discovered God in our heart, we also discover God is in the heart of all these living entities. Therefore, we don't exactly see that person. We see the presence of God in the heart of that person. That's called spiritual vision. Spiritual vision means you see the connection of everything to God. Material vision means you don't see any connection to God in anything. It's just like you find somebody's wallet with a lot of money in it. So a good person, out of a feeling of empathy, thinks, oh, wait a minute, if that was my wallet, what would I want? I would want somebody honest to find it and return it to me. So, do unto others as you will have them do unto you. You return that wallet intact with the money, with the credit cards, everything to the person that owns it. That's because you're God conscious. And if you're not God conscious, you say, oh, this is my happiest day of my life. Such good fortune. How much money is in it? Oh, $1,000. Wow, I'm going to spend it, go to Las Vegas and make it into $100,000. So you see, without God consciousness, we will engage in all kinds of abominable activities because we don't feel that we're responsible to anyone. Okay, so number one, duke su anadvigno anak, one is not disturbed in mind even amidst the threefold energies. Suke su vigatasriya, vitaraga by krodha, and we are free from attachment, fear, and anger. So such a person is called a stage of steady mind. Stita dir munir uchate. They are muni. That is stita dir, situated so firmly in their position of devotion and surrender to God that they're not disturbed by anything. And then a third set of qualifications for a transcendentally situated person. Ya sarva Yes, sarva tran abhisnehas tatat prapya subhasubham nabhinandati nadvesti tasya pragya pratistati. Krishna says, or Arjuna, in the material world, one who is unaffected by whatever good or evil he may obtain, neither praising it nor despising it, is firmly fixed in perfect knowledge. So this state of neutrality toward happiness and distress, good or evil, and one doesn't praise it, or nor does one despise it. That is a very in ancient Rome they had a poor imitation or poor version of this philosophy that's being stated in this verse. You know, it's called Stoicism. Stoicism means you do not react to good or bad. You remain stoic. That means unmoved by these things. But that's half the hen. If you cut the hen in half and expect the egg to come out, does the egg come out? No. So the Stoicism of the Romans was a nonsense philosophy, although it has some echoes of this verse from Bhagavad Gita. Of course, everything in the Western world is coming from India. Right? The Greeks, in the time of the Greeks, 2,500 years ago, India was exporting its spices and silks and other things. They had their own boats, and they would journey across the Indian Ocean and up to Europe and deliver these things. So there was close connection between ancient Greece and India. Pythagoras, in fact, the Pythagorean theorem, and Pythagoras was a brahmachari. He had a brahmachari ashram, right? And he was a mathematician as well as a musician, and he saw the relationship between Sarigama Patanisa and mathematics and the movement of universal bodies or the planets. He was very familiar with Vedic philosophy, right? Because of the connection between Greece and India. However, as you go farther west, it gets watered down. The Vedic philosophy gets watered down. Pythagoras might have been the closest to Vedic philosophy, but when you get to Socrates and Plato and all the rest, you keep getting farther and farther away from it. But they're vestiges of Vedic philosophy. If you read the Republic of Plato, you'll see that it's all about a perfect society. But they didn't really understand completely the Varnashram system as explained in the Vedas. And therefore, when Plato actually tried to get a philosopher king, he chose the king of Sicily at that time. And the guy turned out to be a tyrant. So Plato got so disgusted, he had him assassinated and stopped the whole experiment. In other words, he tried to put into effect his theory of a perfect society that he wrote about in the Republic. It's a famous book that he wrote. And he got all the ideas from Socrates, who was his guru. But when he actually tried it, it was a failure. Why? Because they didn't have the whole enchilada, as they say. They had snippets of it, but they didn't understand it perfectly. Why? Because they did not accept a bona fide guru who was expert in the Vedas. They had an idea of the Vedas, and they embraced many of the ideas of the Vedas, like the concept of zero that comes from India. You cannot solve problems in mathematics without zero, so they didn't have zero. They didn't understand it. It only came from India, right? And many other things. Okay, so then he says, Yadda samharate chayam kurmo naganiva sarvasa indriyani indriyarte vyas tasya pragya pratishtita. One who is able to withdraw his senses from sense objects as the tortoise draws its limbs within the shell is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness. So these are some symptoms of a person who's transcendently situated. And this theme runs through the Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna asked this question 3 or 4 times to Krishna, and every time Krishna gives more information of how to recognize a transcendently situated person. That is because if you don't understand the qualities of a transcendently situated person, you will accept a false guru, which is colloquially referred to as a kangaroo instead of a real guru, because you don't know what is a symptom of transcendently. You'll think, someone who produces a gold bracelet from the sleeve of his coat, that's a guru. Or he gives me some basma, some black ash, and I keep it in my house, and all of a sudden my business did better. And my grandmother's backache went away, and my kid passed the SAT. Therefore, that guy who gave me the basma, he is God. That's nonsense. That's not the way to recognize who's a transcendental person. So here are clear-cut criterions given by Krishna himself, who is the original guru in this world. And Arjuna is the original prototypical disciple. So these are some of the things that are explained here today in these verses, and we'll continue tomorrow morning and then tomorrow night again, going deeper into this lecture by Srila Prabhupada. We'll hear it again tomorrow because he covered so many points. We don't have time to summarize everything now. So, are there any questions anyone wants to ask? You have a question? Okay. You have to ask one question, otherwise you can't go. What? No, wait a minute. I didn't understand what you said. What did you just say? Well, have you ever read the Ramayana? Yeah, it shows. It shows. Well, in the Ramayana, when Sugriva explains to Rama, Lord Rama, where he's going to look for Sita, he says, we will look in the 4 directions. And he gives an elaborate description of the 4 directions. And 4 directions is not simply 4 directions on the earth. It's 4 directions in the universe. So he gives a very deeply detailed cosmological explanation of the 4 directions. You see. So Ayodhya at that time was the capital of the whole earth planet. Just like 5,000 years ago, Hastinapur, after the Battle of Kurukshetra, was the capital city of Yudhishthira Maharaj. And he was the king of the entire world. He did the Ashwamedha sacrifice, in which the horse goes through different kingdoms, and they have I think several horses going in the 4 directions, and his brothers accompanied the horses, and every country that the horse went through, the king agreed to pay taxes to Yudhishthira and be subordinate to him. So 5,000 years ago, there was a one world government. In the time of Ramachandra, he was king of the whole world. In the time of Bali Maharaj, he was the king of the whole universe. Right. So now your question is, why does all the avatars appear in India? Why is Vrindavan in India, modern day India? In that area, yeah. Well, India was not what you see it to be today. And by the way, the name is not India. The name is Bharat, right? India is a colonial name given by the British. And it's actually a very pejorative name. Indian means low-class people that are colonized by the British. So you have the West Indians, and you have the East Indians, and you have the Indians in New Guinea, and you have the Indians here and Indians there. You know, it's a very pejorative term of the colonialist emperors and colonialist, government. The name of India is Bharat. Now, Bharat, there are 3 Bharats, right? But the Bharat that's usually referred to is the son of Rishabhadev. He was king of the whole world. But there are three, there's Lord Rama's brother, Bharat, and there's another different king Bharat, and then there's Bharat, the son of Rishabhadev. Jad Bharat was it after he died and took birth again. His name is Bharat. Yeah. So anyway, Bharat referred to the whole earth. It didn't just refer to this little country called India today. And the planet is called Bharat Varsha. This whole planet, Earth, is called Bharat Varsha. So we have a very parochial understanding of India. Right? It seems to be some geographical area in Southeast Asia, but Bharat and Bharat Varsha refer to the whole Earth. Okay, does that answer your question? Now, let me give you some more information. Krishna does not only appear as Lord Ramachandra or in his original form as Krishna, but he takes birth in every species because he is the seed-giving father of all species. That means insects, birds, mammals, fish, and so forth. So he doesn't just appear as Lord Ramachandra or Krishna or Parasuram or Nrsimha. He also appears in every species. And species are everywhere. Right? Because he's the seed-giving father of all living entities. Therefore, he has a responsibility to help all species make spiritual advancement. So now we're getting a more universal idea of Krishna. Obviously, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's the source of everything. He's the owner of everything. He permeates everything as Paramatma. He supports everything with his effulgence, the Brahma Jyoti. In fact, Prabhupada spoke about the Brahma Jyoti here in this lecture. What did he say? Exactly right. So everything is resting in the spiritual world and the material world on his effulgence called the Brahma Jyoti. Right. So now we're beginning to have a bigger idea of God. He's not some guy who has a cloak on and he pulls out, a gold bracelet or a gold necklace. He must be God because he produced some gold. By the way, it's a trick. It's a sleight of hand. Or you get some basma. Like I said, your business goes better, and then you give a testimonial. I went to Guruji, he gave me some basma, and my business went from 1 crore to 100 crores. That means he's God. But that's a puny God. So once you begin to learn about Krishna, you realize that those people are not God. They are ridiculous, farcical imitations. Because people are so ignorant, they never took the time to study what is the quality of God. Just like now we're studying what is the quality of a transcendental person, also the quality of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is explained in Bhagavad Gita also. So you have to take the time. But see, this is a small book. It's not like Mahabharata. It's not like Vedanta Sutra. It's not like the Puranas. You would never be able to complete reading all of those in one lifetime. But Bhagavad Gita, it's possible to read it many times in one lifetime and discuss it. And the more you purify yourself, the more the knowledge becomes comprehensible. It's not related to studying. It's related to purification. As we become more purified of lust, anger, greed, and so forth, then it makes sense. If you're very contaminated, you can read this, none of it makes sense. You'll say, oh, he's repeating himself all the time. Actually, he doesn't repeat himself all the time. But because of contaminated senses, just like if you have a lighter and you use it, after a little while, the flint, the thing that makes the spark, it wears down. It doesn't make a spark anymore. So even though you still have some lighter fluid, it doesn't light. So the same thing with the mind. You use it for sense gratification. After some time, it becomes so dull, it has no capacity of understanding superior knowledge about our relationship with God. Right? Once your baseball hat goes on backwards, and you have a Budweiser in one hand and a hot dog in the other hand, and you're watching the Super Bowl, you're finished. You'll never understand Bhagavad Gita. Right? You have to throw away the hot dog, throw away the Bud. You have to put the baseball hat back on and then take it off and throw away and put some tilak on and start chanting Hare Krishna. And then you might understand something. In the beginning, you won't understand too much. But as you keep practicing, you'll be able to understand. Because Krishna says, Ye yatamam papadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham mamavart manavartante manushya partha sarvasya. He says in the 4th chapter, 11th verse, that as my devotee proportionately surrenders unto me, proportionately I reveal myself to him. So, you want to see God? Then it's in your hands. The more you surrender, sharanam, to the will of Krishna, the more Krishna reveals to you. If you surrender 0, you see 0. If you surrender 1%, Krishna will show you 1%. If you surrender 50%, he'll show you 50%. If you surrender 100%, you'll see 100%. So it all depends on what you desire. If you desire, Amazon stock and gold and 401k and so forth, 0%. But if you donate your Amazon stock and your gold and your 401k to Krishna, and you keep what you need just to live a decent life, then you'll start seeing a lot. but more important than that, than money, is donating your time to hearing Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. These are the 9 processes of devotional service, beginning with Shravanam, Kirtanam, hearing and repeating. So this hearing and repeating is the most important thing for spiritual life, because our weakness, our, let's say, foible is that we forget easily. In other words, goes in one ear, comes out the other ear. So as soon as we walk out the door, someone can ask you, oh, what was the class about? You say, oh, it was a fantastic class, wonderful class. Okay, tell me one thing he said. Well, he said Krishna is God. He said, anything else? I don't remember anything else. Well, that means it went in one ear and came out the other. So in order to hold it inside the 2 ears, between the 2 ears, you have to develop critical hearing. You have to hear submissively with complete attention. And that takes practice. We're not, because of digital technology, we are not practiced to focus the mind on one thing. Digital technology is binary technology. Therefore, by nature, it takes our mind from one thing to another, and then back, and then forth, and back and forth, like a ping pong ball. See? So we have to train the mind to listen critically to what's being said, and then there must be questions, because we obviously understand only a fraction of what we hear. So the answer to your question was that you have to understand the difference between India and Bharat Varsa. That Krishna appears in every species and in all places, not just in this little geographical area called modern India. Okay, any other questions? Yeah, you know why he says forgetfulness? Because you would not be able to sin unless he helps you forget him. So you can't even commit a sin without the help of Krishna. Now ask me, why does he do that? Why doesn't he just make us robots? We only remember him all the time and never sin. Because then there would be no love. Love is a voluntary surrender to someone. You would be a robot, but you're not a robot. You have limited free will. Therefore, you can go either way. You can go toward Krishna, or you can go away from Krishna. Okay, what's your question? No, you're not trained to hear. What is the number one thing you learn by coming to class? You learn to hear critically. That's why Krishna says, Shrinu me. Hear me, Arjuna. Even Jesus said the same thing. Those who have ears, let them hear. But wait a minute, everybody's got ears. Right? That means, even though we have ears, we may not have the mental equilibrium to hear. So the thing that we learn by sitting down, and it's called submissive hearing, right? We submissively hear as a matter of duty. And when we develop, we begin to capture some points, it gives us a atomic boost. You suddenly get an understanding of something, and when you start getting those understandings, then you get really interested. In the beginning, you're not interested at all, because it's a headache to sit down. I got to listen again to another class. But as soon as you start picking up some points, right? Just like one day a person, this weekend he came to me, he said, when I first came to the temple, you were giving a lecture, and you said something, I've never forgotten it, even though this happened years ago. He said, I've never forgotten what you said. I said, what was that? You said that if you insult someone, and that person is just an ordinary person, you insult them, but later on, that person becomes a pure devotee, then you're retroactively responsible for Vaishnava aparad. He said, when you said that, it stuck in my mind, and even till today I cannot forget it, because it forces me, no, not it forced me, but it inspired me to be very respectful to all people. Because you can be retroactively responsible for Vaishnava aparad if a person becomes a pure devotee in the future. So, you say, he heard one thing, and it stuck in his mind, and it changed his behavior. Now imagine if you hear two things, you know, and stays in your mind, and, you know, it will change your behavior even more, right? So that is what we learn. It's the number one thing we learn by coming to class, is critical listening, critical hearing. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, he says in 18th chapter, well, he says it many times in many places, but we'll just take this one verse. 18th chapter, he says, Sarvaguya tamam bhuya shrinu me paramam vacha istosi me dridam iti tato vakshami te hitam. 18th chapter, 64th verse. Because you are my very dear friend, Arjuna, I am speaking to you my supreme instruction, the most confidential knowledge of all. Hear this from me, for it is for your benefit. So he says, Shrinu me paramam vacha. Hear this supreme vacha, the supreme explanation or instruction. And he says, Tato vakshami te hitam. I am speaking this for your benefit. Then again he says, Mat chitta sarvadurgani mat prasada tarishyasi atachet tvam ahankaran nasrosyasi vinaksyasi. He says, if you become conscious of me, you will pass over all the obstacles of conditioned life by my grace. If, however, you do not work in such consciousness, but act through false ego, not hearing me, you will be lost. So here we have two verses. One he's saying what happens if you hear him, and the other is saying what happens if you don't hear him. So we have to develop this taste for hearing Krishna. Now, that the process is like this. It begins with shraddha, a little bit of appreciation and a slight bit of faith that if I associate with devotees, it might be helpful for me in my life. Then you begin to associate. So the second point is sadhu sangha. And through sadhu sangha, association with devotees, they explain to you the importance of accepting Upanayanam, or initiation by a bona fide guru. So that's number 3. That's bhajana kriya. And then when you accept initiation by bona fide guru, and guru means 2, there's shiksha and diksha guru, then next stage is called anartha nivritis. Under this supervision and scrutiny of the gurus, you give up all bad habits. You know. And then at that point, you develop nishta, strong faith, by giving up the bad habits and the regular hearing and associating. You develop strong faith. And as that advances, you develop ruchi, taste for hearing. In other words, you don't have to go to Cancun or Hawaii or Mazatlan for a vacation. Your vacation is coming to the class every day and hearing. That's where you get your happiness from. Your happiness is by hearing, and every time you hear it, you go deeper into self-realization. And then, after ruchi, there is asakti. You develop real attachment to Krishna. And then from asakti comes bhava. You begin to actually feel the presence of the Lord when you're chanting His holy name, and you can actually feel the Lord dancing on your tongue as you're chanting.